first off is variables. And when we use variables, remember variables are unknown numbers. So when you did the first day lesson and notes, we worked with variables, we worked with algebraic expressions, writing them out. Then what we have to understand is exponents and order of operations. So variables we did on day one. Now we're going to combine exponents along with order of operations. Okay, so remember order of operations, Pemdas. Now, I don't know if you've done this in the past, but when you get to multiplication and division and adding and subtracting, that goes from left to right. You do not have to divide before multiplying. You do not have to subtract. You do not have to add before you subtract. So if I were to give you this example, 30 divided by 6 times 2, you do not have to multiply first to get 12, then divide. You can actually do 30 divided by 6, which gives you 5, times 2, which gives you 10. Now, that is not the case, though, when working with parentheses and exponents. If I give you this situation, 2 to the 4th, 4 plus 3 times 2. If we're looking at order of operations, we have to do 7 first. Then we have to do our exponent. So 2 to the 4th, which is the same as 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, which gives you 16. 16 times 7 times 2. This is where you go from left to right. So 16 times 7, 112 times 2. So my answer here would be 224. Now, let me give you another example and do it both ways so you can see how it makes a difference. So if I have 3 plus 5 minus 6 divided by 2, and I write it twice, this one, I'm going to follow the Pemdas rules. This one, I'm just going to go left to right. So if I go left to right, I get 8 minus 6 divided by 2, 8 minus 6, that gives me 2 divided by 2. My answer's 1 here. If I do Pemdas here, 3 plus 5 minus 6 divided by 2, which is 3, and then I go left to right, which is 8 minus 3, that gives me 5. This is the correct answer. This is not. So now, I'm going to give you 2 problems. I want you to pause the video and try them on your own. So let's try the first one here. 25 minus 8 times 2 plus 3 to the second, 3 squared. So if I'm following Pemdas rules, this has to be done first. So 25 minus 8 times 2 plus 9. Then according to Pemdas rules, I have to take this in the middle because it's multiplication. So 25 minus 16 plus 9. Then if I do the left to right rule, 9 plus 9 gives you 18. Last problem I want to go over with you, because it's a tricky one, is this equation right here. So some of you were having a little bit like of questions with this one. So in this is an algebraic expression, and then you have two variables. If usually you have two variables and you are not given what the value of A and B is, this would be the stoppage point of the problem. But since they give you the variables, we can actually do this out. So if we remember Pemdas and we plug in, it would look like this: 3a minus 2 to the third divided by 4, or divided by b, and then plug in. So whenever we have a 7, or whenever we have an a, we're going to plug in 7. Whenever we have a b, we're going to plug in 4. Now, some of you I've talked about this with, others I have not. This sign right here has two purposes. Because if we're doing PEMDAS, there's no parentheses, we have an exponent. Now, in this equation, it is subtraction. But if we are looking strictly at this piece, this now becomes a negative. So what this wants us to do is negative 2 to the third power. So this is like writing it like this: negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2, which should be negative 8. Negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4, times negative 2 is negative 8. So now 3 times 7 minus 8 divided by 4. Here is where it gets a little tricky. Now, I can do this part. I can do this part. This part has to wait. So, what I now do is negative 8 divided by 4 gives us negative 2. 3 times 7 gives us 21. Now, if you're getting a little confused, yet again, when we look at this whole thing, this is subtraction. When we just look at it individually, it's a negative. And then the sign goes right here. So now it's a full subtraction problem. So 21 minus 2 gives us 19. I wanted to go over that with you because right here, but this next step with the division kind of makes you go all wonky. No worries. I screwed it up the first time I was trying to do the video. So, remember, PEMDAS, you have that exponent. You have to do the exponent. Then you have to make sure multiplying and dividing happens before the adding, subtracting. So now, what I want you to do is the exit ticket, write the equivalent expression to that expression they give you on the top of the paper.